بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الأمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Today is the 25th. It is Monday. Well, now actually it's the 26th. The 26th night of the month of Shawwal, 1,431 years after the hijrah of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, corresponding with October 4th, 2010 CE. And we'd like to continue, even though the class is Usul Iman, you know that we've taken a detour. And all of it has to do with our Iman, but we've taken a detour that we're calling this detour, these lessons for the past 4 or 5, a little bit more than 4 or 5 supplementary lessons. We're calling them our classes of immunization. These classes are our immunization shots to protect us from diseases that are on the horizon and some have already reached us. This is what we call these classes, inshallah. So with that, and we hope to finish it tonight, we've attempted 3 times already to present what we plan on presenting this evening. 3 times we tried it, and 3 times we didn't finish it. Once with myself, the second with our brother who translated this from the Arabic to the English, and a second time, Yarhamakumullah, with our brother who translated it. So this evening, inshallah, we want to present what is called in English principles that are incumbent upon every Salafi to know. Principles that are incumbent upon every Salafi to know. And after the Basmallah, and after the praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and sending a salat wa salam on the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the Sheikh, who is the junior brother to a Sheikh Muhammad ibn Umar Bazmuul. This is his younger brother, Sheikh Ahmed ibn Umar Bazmuul, Hafethahullah. He says, as to proceed, this talk, which I will be going over with my brothers from the students of knowledge, who are from different Islamic countries, is an instructional talk, firstly, for myself, and secondly, for my brothers. And after this, inshallah, there will be a number of questions. As for this talk, with the permission of Allah, the mighty and majestic, then it is a completion of what we started yesterday, which is entitled The Principles That Are Incumbent for the Salafi to Know. So from the important matters which will, inshallah, rid the Salafis from many problems, is to know an important matter and principle, and that is, this is the first principle he's given us, brothers, that is the difference between warning against an individual and declaring an individual an innovator. The difference, al-farq, بين التبديع and التحذير. The difference between التبديع and التحذير. The Sheikh, he says, this principle will rid the Salafis from many problems This is because sometimes when you warn against a person, it is said that you declared him an innovator. Then everyone starts to stand and speak and differ with you and quarrel with you. The scholars, may Allah have mercy on them, and the Salaf as-Salih, may Allah be pleased with them, and those who tread their path to this day, differentiate between at-tahdhir, from warning against a person, and at-tabdi', including or deeming someone to be an innovator. As for tabdi', that is, declaring someone to be an innovator, this is to rule on a person that he has fallen into bid'ah, into innovation. And the obligation is of warning against him. As for tahdhir, this is not a ruling that a person has fallen into innovations. However, the person is in an opposing stage and is being given advice. This means that he has opposed the manhaj in matters which he may be confused about or has been mistaken in, and has persisted on his mistake, and this is in its beginning stages when they are warning from this person. I like to stop here, brothers. When who is warning from this person? The ulama. Just want to see if everyone is with us. It may be said, be careful of being around so-and-so, and he is to be stayed away from until he repents and returns to the truth, and until we hear the detailed statements of the scholars concerning him. We stop again, just to make sure everybody understands what's going on. At this stage, what is he? Is he an innovator, or is he being warned against? He's being warned against. He's not being deemed as an innovator. What is the dangerous matter here? The dangerous matter is from different aspects. The first is the differing that occurs between the Salafi youth. And when the Sheikh means the Salafi youth, he means also people like myself, who is nearing 60 years of age. That's who he means. So don't be self-deluded when the Sheikh says Salafi youth. He doesn't mean those who are teenagers only and those who are in their 20s and their 30s. He means those who are in their 40s, those who are in their 50s. This is what he means by shabab. He says, the dangerous matter is from different aspects. The first is the differing that occurs between, meaning amongst the Salafi youth, in having al-wala and bara regarding this individual. Does everyone know what wala and bara is? Who doesn't know? Raise your hand. Al-wala simply is loyalty. And al-bara is simply disavowalment. Al-wala simply is alliance. And al-bara is disassociation. Because in Islam, brothers, we have to have wala for only the Muslims. These are my words now, Sheikh, not Sheikh Ahmed. I'm elaborating for those who don't know what al-wala and bara is. In Islam, we have to have al-wala for only Muslims. Loyalty is only to Muslims. Alliance is only to Muslims. And we made this clear the other night when we talked about al-mudahana. Al-mudahana and mudara. Right? We made it clear, right? For those who weren't here, nothing I can do. I can't help you. All right? So al-wala is only for the Muslims. You cannot have wala with a kafir. And al-bara should be bara between a Muslim and another Muslim. There can never be wala between a Muslim and a kafir. We repeat, wala is only for the Muslims. Bara can be for the kafir and the Muslim. But the difference is that the bara with the kuffar, disloyalty, disenfranchisement, disassociation, disconnection, staying away from, making yourself innocent and free of them, that bara is kulli. And the bara amongst Muslims is juz'i. The one with the kuffar is a total bara. And the one with the Muslim can occur because the foundation is that we have wala. We have wala. But the bara can occur between Muslims and Muslims, but it's always partial. It's always partial. The only time the only time bara will occur between a Muslim and, I say in quotes, another Muslim is when that other Muslim has left Islam. Then there is al-bara al-kulli. It is a total disloyalty, a total disassociation. Is it clear, brothers? Is it clear? Okay. So the Sheikh, he says, the dangerous matter is from different aspects. The first is the differing that occurs amongst the Salafi youth in having al-wala or al-bara. The Sheikh is saying that the reason why there's a problem is because the Salafi youth don't know what is wala and bara. And they don't know how to apply it. They don't know who it belongs to or not belongs to. He says, so here now the problem occurs specifically with the individual. What individual, brothers? The one who's being warned against. Some see that you have declared him an innovator and spoken ill of him, and from there differing occurs. You understand what he's saying, brothers? The ulama say, stay away from so-and-so. We're warning you of so-and-so. Be careful of so-and-so. Because be careful means warning. That's your warning. And if he's a Muslim, of course, that warning is going to have some, sides to it. But in essence, anyone who says be careful of so-and-so, and he's a Muslim, that's a warning. I don't care how you look at it. It's a warning. Whether you're telling the person to be careful because of some sins that person is involved in, or worse than that, some innovations that person has fallen into and hasn't become an innovator full-fledged. He's just fallen into it. Or worse than that, which is nothing worse than that except shirk, kufr. All right? The Sheikh, he goes on. He says, so some see that you have declared him an innovator and spoken ill of him. Why? Because the people don't understand. There's a difference between making tabdi' and making tahdhir. Saying someone is an innovator and saying that he's being warned against. Right? So there's confusion amongst the Salafi youth. So he says, some people begin to say, so-and-so has declared him an innovator and they've spoken ill of him. There's where the differing occurs. Sheikh Ahmed, he says, this is a dangerous matter. He said the second matter is that some youth, and they are on the other side, they think that this person is still in place. What person is still in place? The one who's being warned against. The other side of the Salafi youth, they think that person is still okay, even though he's been warned against. He's okay. You see? And he's still able to be benefited from. He's still able to be benefited from. Sheikh Ahmed says, no. For verily this person with the opposition he has. Opposition to what? The manhaj of the Salaf. Jazakallah khairan. The person who's being warned against is in opposition to the manhaj of the Salaf. And we remember from some weeks ago, we explained, we gave explanation from those ulama, Sheikh Fawzan, Sheikh Ahmed al-Najmi, Sheikh Rabi', Sheikh Ubaid, on when a person leaves Salafiyah. Didn't we give it, brothers? Didn't we? Did we not? All right. The Sheikh says, no. For verily this person with the opposition he has is in a stage where we stop and stay away from him so no one can be affected by him. If he repents and leaves what he is upon and returns to the truth, we return to him. And if he persists upon falsehood, the scholars rule upon him to be an innovator or the like. Is it clear, brothers? So, the persons who have been warned against are to be stayed away from, especially, Sheikh Ahmed says, from the students of knowledge, whose feet have not been grounded in knowledge. Why? The Sheikh says. This is because in this stage, the person being warned against is being one of two things. The first, that he returns to the truth, and if he does, may Allah reward him. And the second, that if he persists upon his falsehood and does not return. Also during this stage, he sends into the hearts and the minds of the youth unclear proofs and principles, and he roots into them foundations that make them think that he isn't an innovator, and they see him not to have left the manhaj. Due to this, if the scholars declare him an innovator after that, after what? After the warning? No, more than that. After what? Huh? After the persistence. After what? No, after what? I don't think you're paying attention, brothers. We'll say it again. Listen closely, brothers. Listen closely. The name of the talk, principles that are incumbent upon every Salafi to know. You have to listen closely, brothers. The needle may be real big for this immunization, but don't be scared by the size of the needle. You understand? Don't be scared by the size of the needle. So the persons who have been warned against is to be stayed away from, especially from the students of knowledge whose feet have not been grounded in knowledge. Why? This is because in this stage, the person being warned against is between one of two things. The first thing that he's between, that he returns to the truth. And if he does, may Allah reward him. That's simple, right? That's easy to understand. The second that he's between, that he persists upon his falsehood and does not return. Also during this stage, what stage? The second stage. He sends into the hearts and the minds of the youth unclear proofs and principles, and he roots them into the foundations that make them, he roots into them. He firmly roots into them, into the roots of their hearts. He plants foundations that makes them think that he is not an innovator, and so they see him to have not left the minhaj. Due to this, if the scholars declare him an innovator after that, after what, brothers? After he has rooted, planted those other things into their hearts. After he did that, now when the ulama come back and they say he is such and such now, he's going to another level, they won't be pleased. They won't be pleased with what? The ruling of the scholars, because he already planted in their heart that which is being said of him is not true. That's not true. What they're saying about so-and-so, it's not true. What they're saying about me, it's not true. The Sheikh says, okay, do they leave him? Meaning the people. He said, we say yes. Leave him and stay away. There's nothing better than being safe and sound, and that your religion is safe. Alhamdulillah, the scholars are present, and the Salafi students of knowledge are widespread. If they cannot be found, then the Salafi tapes and books are around. And we add to that CDs, of course. Now, where we live are present, and the Salafi students of knowledge are widespread, and if they can't be found. Do we have that problem? Is there any place in the United States that would have that problem less than us? Yes. Almost all of them, if not all of them. We're the only place in the United States of America that has more students and du'at than anywhere in the United States, in the continental United States, in North America and South America. Right here in this immediate location. Right here. There's no place that has more Salafi students of knowledge and du'at. No place in all of North America, Canada, United States, and in South America. Is that clear, brothers? Do you understand what I'm telling you? So we don't have that problem. So what is the Sheikh saying? The Sheikh is saying, if you don't have ulama who are present, and the Salafi students are widespread, if you don't have ulama, who's he telling you to go to? The students. That's what he's telling you to go to. To do what? That's general. Learn the religion. We know that. What? What are we talking about? What is he telling us? To get clarification about what? About the person that's been warned against. Do you understand, brothers, what I'm saying? Let's continue with Sheikh Ahmed. And Sheikh Ahmed, by the way, Sheikh Rabia says it's an alim. He didn't say he was a student. He said he's an alim. That's what Sheikh Rabia said. He said, okay, if they have not, afwan, the Sheikh says, Alhamdulillah, the scholars are present, and the Salafi students of knowledge are widespread. If they cannot be found, then the Salafi tapes, CDs, and books are around. Allah didn't attach the religion to a specific person. And the religion and truth is ongoing, alhamdulillah. And it is not related to personalities. Know the truth, and you will know its people. So this principle is very serious, and you have to be cautious. This principle is very dangerous, and you have to be cautious of it, aware of it. Some people come and say, such and such person or so and so person has this and that. They say the scholars have not yet declared him an innovator. Okay, the Sheikh says, if they have not declared him an innovator, this means he's at the stage either that he will accept the truth or either deny it. And you may become deceived by him and fall into his plot. So Islamically, it is upon you to stay away from him and wait and see what the scholars say about him. Is he okay to be returned to and benefited from, or to be left? The Sheikh then says, is this principle clear now? Good. Sheikh Ahmed continues. Also, it is incumbent in this principle, just as it has preceded yesterday, because the Sheikh was giving a talk the day before that. And it is not to be overzealous and to not attach the truth to personalities. What is Halabi? The Sheikh is asking a question, meaning Ali Hassan al-Halabi. Most of you probably don't know about him. Some of you maybe have heard about him. But we know him personally for years, at least 12 years. Personally. He knows us and we know him personally. He says, what is Halabi? Because for those who don't know, Ali Hassan al-Halabi, who was one of the well-known people amongst us here in the West from Jordan, was recently deemed by Sheikh Rabi' as an innovator after 7 or 8 or 9 years of being patient. After 7 or 8 or 9 years of being advised, he was finally, just 2.5 months ago, deemed to be a mubtadi', an innovator by Sheikh Rabi'. And we're in questions and answers. I hope that you remember that we mentioned him so we can say something else, inshallah. Because I'm sure some people out there in Pal Talk land have some reply to what I just said. The Sheikh says, what is Halabi? Is he Quran? Is he Sunnah? Is he a Salafi Salih? He's none of that. If he's guided, then this is for his own benefit. And if he goes astray, then that's on him, because the truth is fixed and it doesn't move. He says, as for you attaching the truth to just Halabi, if he says something, you say it. And if he refuses, you refuse. And if you don't make your source of return the Quran and the Sunnah, and if you don't make your source of return the Quran and Sunnah, he says this is misguidance. How is this? And now Halabi, for example, just like you all know, and of course the majority of us don't know this, and the majority of us who have heard that Sheikh Rabi' called him an innovator, we don't know why. Now you're getting ready to find out why. Because Sheikh Ahmed just finished, it is published, it is on the bookshelves of some of our brothers in their libraries, in their homes. A refutation on Ali Hassan al-Halabi that's more than 500 pages. More than 500 pages. These are some examples of why Sheikh Rabi' declared him to be an innovator. He says, as for attaching the truth to just Halabi, if he says something, you say it. And if he refuses, you refuse. And you don't make your source of return the Quran and the Sunnah. He said, this is misguidance. How is this? He says, and now Halabi, for example, just like you all know, he fell into the era of interfaith services, calling for all religions to be one, and saying that the middle course of Islam, which the Prophet ﷺ has come with, is that which gathers the people on the foundation that they are all human beings and not to differ between them or split them. We all know an angle of this, brothers, is faiths united. Faiths united. We just had one just a couple of months ago. The Muslims were gathering together with the kuffar, churches and otherwise, for the wellness health thing It was under the banner of Faiths United, Ad-Diyanatul Muwahhada, which is a call to apostasy. And the Germantown Masjid's name was on the flyer. A Salafi Masjid was on that flyer, and it was hanging right here in this hallway. Right here. We continue. The Sheikh, he says, this is the epitome of heresy and disbelief. Even though there is this false statement which Halabi fell into, you still find some or many or all who follow him. Who follow him from amongst those who love him and they defend him. This confirms for you all what has preceded, that the student of knowledge that has been warned from, and Al-Halabi is not a scholar, the student of knowledge that has been warned from has to be stayed away from so that no one will fall prey to his fitan. I like to add to that. Abu Usama al-Dhahabi is a strong supporter and companion of Ali Hassan al-Halabi. The Sheikh continues. Due to this, Sheikh Ahmed al-Najmi, rahimahullah, what did he say? He said, quote, these individuals from Sham is Jordan, are defending the people of innovation, and the knowledge isn't taken from the likes of these people. That's the end of the quote of Sheikh Ahmed al-Najmi. Sheikh Ahmed Bazmuul, he continues. What he means, meaning Sheikh Ahmed al-Najmi, rahimahullah, is that you stop regarding these individuals and you wait. They either will return to the truth or you leave them. Do not attach your religion and do not attach the truth to following personalities. Also, because of this, we have the statement of Ibn Mas'ud, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu wa radahu. And this principle is with the same principle we are speaking of. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud said, whoever is following or taking someone as an example, let him follow those who have already died. End of quote. Sheikh Ahmed, he continues. From those who haven't been tried with tribulations, which are the Sahaba. Afwan, that was Ibn Mas'ud, the continuation. From those who haven't been tried with tribulations, which are the Sahaba. Ibn Mas'ud said, for verily you can't be sure one who is living won't go through any trials. Sheikh Ahmed, he says, this is a principle that was said by Ibn Mas'ud and also Ibn Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'een. So where are the Salafis in applying this statement? That's a question, a rhetorical question that the Sheikh is asking. Where are the Salafis in applying this statement? Some of them are far from it. Some of them attach guidance to a particular person. If he's guided, they are guided. And if he goes astray, then they go astray. This is an error. And by this, you are sinning and are responsible before Allah, the mighty and majestic. For verily Allah made for truth, people and signs, just as he made for falsehood, people and signs. And he commanded you to follow the true path and forbade you following the path of falsehood. And the interpretation of the meaning of that verse in Surah Al-An'am, chapter 6, verse 153, and say, this is my straight path, so follow it, and do not follow the other paths, for verily it will separate you from his path. The Sheikh, he says, this is a counsel, meaning an advice from Allah, just as it is known. The second principle. All of that, brothers, was the first principle, which is what? For those who are paying attention, that first principle is what? There's a difference between tabdi' and tahdhir. Declaring somebody an innovator and warning against a person. Now the Sheikh comes with the second principle that is incumbent upon every Salafi to know. And unless you're not a Salafi, I guess you won't consider it incumbent upon you to know it. But if you're a Salafi, then you have to. The Sheikh is saying it's wajib to know these principles. Second principle, and it is something well known, but it has to be repeated and reminded of because we find many of the Salafi youth do not apply it or understand it and thus fall unaware of it. The principle is that speaking ill of the people of the Sunnah, meaning speaking ill of the Salafis, is in reality speaking ill of the Sunnah. Speaking ill of the people of the Sunnah is in reality speaking ill of the Sunnah which they carry, and those who speak ill of the people of the Sunnah are misguided innovators. Whoever speaks ill of the people of the Sunnah intentionally is a misguided innovator. This principle is well known and established amongst us. However, it has some deficiency in its application. However, it has some deficiency in its application amongst many of the youth. How many youth hear those who speak ill of some of the Salafi scholars from the likes of Sheikh Ahmed al-Najmi, or Sheikh Muhammad Aman al-Jami, or Sheikh Zayd al-Madkhali, or Sheikh Rabi' al-Madkhali? They hear these attacks and they remain quiet and do not say anything. Likewise, these attacks may be in secret and not apparent, and he remains quiet and doesn't do anything. Rather, he may also start to mention these things, although he knows that speaking ill of the scholars of the Sunnah is speaking ill of the Sunnah itself. And whoever speaks ill of the people of the Sunnah intentionally, they are misguided innovators. How many times does the Sheikh say that? 3, for emphasis. Okay, when the scholars mention that speaking ill of some of the people of the Sunnah or those who carry the Sunnah and defend it is really attacking the Sunnah itself and also is innovation, is this considered being overzealous? Is this considered being extremist? The answer is no. Because, for example, Sheikh Rabi' al-Madkhali, when we speak ill of those who speaks ill of him, do we speak ill of those who speak ill of Sheikh Rabi' just to the eyes, because of the eyes of Sheikh Rabi'? Or due to the lineage of Sheikh Rabi' al-Madkhali? Or due to a financial benefit? No. It's just that Sheikh Rabi', as it is known, is a person who is a carrier of the Sunnah and defends it and refutes the people of innovation and stands as a thorn in their throats. May Allah reward him. Amen. This is what we deem him, and we do not praise anyone above Allah. So what is incumbent upon us is that we defend him and love him due to his defense and love for the Sunnah. So the reason why those who speak against the likes of these Salafis is the aforementioned matter, not just due to him being who he is. And you all know about Al-Halabi. Let's take, for example, again, he says, the Salafi youth used to magnify him and respect him. However, when he fell into misguidance and innovations and all of its dirt, the true Salafis left him, tossed him to the side, refuted him, and clarified his misguidance. Okay, when they loved him, they had a position of love. And when they had to hate him, they had a position of hate. What is the reason? Because we love for Allah and hate for Allah, and this is a principle in boycotting. Some people say al-wala and al-bara doesn't have anything to do with boycotting. This statement is ignorance and misguidance. For verily, the reason for boycotting the innovator is loving and hating for the sake of Allah. So you hate him for Allah, the mighty and majestic, just as we love the Salafis and the Salafi scholars for Allah, and not for them just being them. So it is incumbent to pay attention to this. Then we'll give an example from the attacks on Sheikh Rabi'a and other than him from the Salafi scholars. They attack them by saying they are harsh, or saying they don't comprehend, or that they just criticize and are dictators, or they say that they are ahlul iqsa, meaning people of harshness. So these types of attacks are attacking the people of Sunnah. So we and you both know that there are some people in Al-Madinah and elsewhere who describe Sheikh Rabi' that he's harsh and that he is not rational or wise or balanced. And they describe other scholars that they are rational and are wise and are balanced. I stop there. I've heard this with my own ears. Abu Usama al-Dhahabi say this with my own ears, referring to Sheikh Rabi' for the first category and Sheikh Abdul Muhsin al-Abbad for the second category. I've heard this with my own ears. The Sheikh, he goes on. This principle is true. The Sheikh says this principle is true. But that which is intended behind it is false. For verily the scholars categorize those who speak about criticizing and praising into three categories. Number one, those who are mutasahilun, those who are easygoing. Number two, those who are mutawassitun, those who are in the middle. And those who are mutashaddidun, those who are harsh. What the Sheikh asks is the exact meaning of those who are mutawassitun, those who are in the middle. He says the answer, it is that the reason of criticizing and praise, we know in Arabic it's called al-jarh wa ta'dil. He says it is an Islamically legislated reason, and that it be with truth. That jarh and ta'dil, criticizing and praising, is an Islamically legislated reason, and it has to be done with truth, proofs, and evidences on that issue, and mentioning the reason why, and that the jarh, or the criticism, and the ta'dil, the praise, be something which is considerable. As for those who are mutasahilun, the easygoing people, it is that they deem those who are unknown or those who are criticized to be trustworthy. Those who are unknown and those who are being criticized to be trustworthy. Those are the lenient people, the easygoing people, the laxed people, the lazy people. So, this is negligence and watering down the truth. What's watering down the truth in Arabic, brothers? Tamyir. Ahsantum. You remember, watering down the truth is tamyir. The Sheikh, he goes on. As for those who are harsh, it is that they criticize without a valid reason. This is harshness. He says, now let's come and apply these principles. The Sheikh gave us the principles. Now he's going to teach us how to apply these principles. He's not just leaving us. Here are the principles. All right, see you later. ASalaam Aleikum. He's going to show us how to apply the principles. He says, now let's come and apply these principles among the well-known Salafi scholars. And we have the most outstanding one in this regard. He is spoken ill of and attacked and is intentionally spoken against, and that is Sheikh Rabi'. He said, this is known. He said, Al-Halabi, Al-Ma'rabi, many of these people you may not know about, brothers. Abu Hassan al-Ma'rabi. He says Ar'ur, who is Adnan Ar'ur, who we know personally, used to come to America and visit us and do conferences with us. He says, and Al-Maghrawi, who is the one in Morocco. And then the Sheikh says, Al-Ruhaili. Al-Ruhaili, there in Medina. Not Sulaiman al-Ruhaili, but Ibrahim al-Ruhaili. All right? He says, and so on, and so and so. He says, they all go around wanting to attack and speak ill of Sheikh Rabi'. He says they want to see his downfall for the claims to be Salafi. Claims to be Salafi. Some of the brothers sitting here right now, we know them very well. Isn't that not right, Brother Muhammad? We know them very well. They're in Kuwait, right? Their leader is who, Muhammad? Who is their sheikh? Their mufti. Abdul Rahman Abdul Khaliq. Abdul Rahman Abdul Khaliq from Egypt, but in Kuwait. Was a student of Sheikh al-Albani for over a dozen years. And Abu Usama al-Dhahabi worked for them for years. When he was the imam in Orlando, Florida, that's who he was working for. And when he moved to the Great Britain for the first time, that's who he was working for. And when they offered me a job in the early 90s in Leeds with huge money, paying my rent, let me make Hajj and Umrah for free, just like Abu Usama. The works, I'm talking about big money. We're talking about not American dollars, British sterling pounds. For those of you who don't know about British sterling pounds, that's money. I told them I would rather eat dirt than work for them. I would rather eat dirt than work for you. And I refused it, and I have witnesses to that. These same people are the people that produced that magazine down in Kissimmee, Florida, called Muslim Creed. That's these people. The Sheikh, he says, so let's come and look at Sheikh Rabi'. And this is an answer to a question that came up, and it is, Sheikh Rabi' is referred to as being harsh. He said, let's look at Sheikh Rabi'. Firstly, when Sheikh Rabi' goes and criticizes someone, he criticizes them along with mentioning the reason. So you, O Maghrawi, the one in Morocco, and Al-Ma'rabi, and Ar'ur, Sheikh Rabi' criticized you with your own speech, your own voice, your own books. Like Sheikh Rabia, I stopped there, like Sheikh Rabia did with Abu Muslima. The brothers were sitting there. Sheikh Rabia questioned him, said, you say such and such? Did you say such and such? You say such and such? I don't remember saying that. I don't remember saying that. Did I say that? They pushed the button on play on the tape, played his voice. Sheikh Rabia said, is that your voice? He says, Naam, that's me. The same thing that he said, I didn't say that, I don't remember saying that. They clicked play. He said what he said. They turned it off. He looked him in his face and pointed his finger into his face. He said, Anta kadhab. You are a liar. He says, we have seen the likes of you before. Anta hizbiyun mustatir. You are hidden hizbi. We've seen the likes of you before. And now he's no longer hidden. Walillahi alhamd. Sheikh Rabia, he criticized you with your own speech and your own voice and your own books. And he mentioned, you said this, or you did this, or your affair is this, etc. So did he, Sheikh Rabia, come and say, Ma'rabi is disparaged, and was asked why Sheikh Rabia? Because I saw him scratch his head? Sheikh Rabia, he refuted or disparaged or criticized Ma'rabi because he saw him shake his head? No, rather he clarified to you the evidence that Ma'rabi says that the Ikhwan al-Muslimin and the misguided groups are amongst Ahl Sunnah. That's just one of the things that Ma'rabi said. That the Ikhwan al-Muslimin are a part of Ahl Sunnah. And that the terminology Salafiyya is something wide, spacious. And he entered, Ma'rabi, he entered into democracy and many other misguided matters, which is well known. I stop. Isn't going into politics a possibility, brothers and sisters, of going into democracy? Isn't knocking on the doors of the politicians possibility that you go into democracy? Isn't rubbing shoulders with the politicians for whatever reason, maybe a good intention or bad intention or to help the Muslims, isn't it a possibility that you could fall into democracy? I repeat, the Sheikh says, he included Salafiyya, said that Salafiyya has a wide terminology, definition. And he entered into democracy and many other misguided matters, which is well known. Also, he describes the scholars of the Sunnah that they are a case of tomatoes. He called the ulama a case of tomatoes and things like that. Even the Hizbis, Sheikh Ahmed said, didn't attribute this to Ahl Sunnah. And this is Ma'rabi, attributing this to Ahl Sunnah. Then Sheikh Rabia came with the proofs. Then Sheikh Rabia came with the evidences. Then Sheikh Rabia clarified. Therefore, their speech is based on proofs. Secondly, what is the position of the Salafi scholars regarding the refutations of Sheikh Rabia? The answer is, they have praised them and said, this man, Sheikh Rabia, is a mujahid. Sheikh Rabia is a mujahid. And he doesn't criticize anyone except with explaining the reason. And he verifies that which was said about the individual, and he doesn't criticize except until the truth has become apparent to him, and he advises who? The person who's being warned against. Ahsant. He advises before he disparages and refutes. And he is also a signpost in the science of jarh and ta'dil, criticism and praise. Isn't this what we quoted from Usama al-Qusi the other day? Right? All right. Just as Sheikh al-Albani said about him, so this is the second thing. The third thing is that the Sheikh, he says, is the Sheikh who? Rabi'a. Is he alone regarding those whom he disparages and criticizes, or do the scholars agree with him? Come to me with one person, Sheikh Ahmed Bazmuul says. Come to me with one person whom the Sheikh has criticized, and not one scholar agreed with him. He says you won't find that. Therefore, the Sheikh is not alone in his criticizing. Rather, those scholars who have opposed the Sheikh, after some time, you'll find them returning to the Sheikh's opinion. And the most apparent and well-known example here is with Sheikh Al-Albani. For indeed, some of those whom Sheikh Rabi'a criticized, Sheikh Al-Albani said regarding that, it is apparent, meaning later on, that the scholars of Al-Madinah, and when Sheikh Rabi'a was in Medina, he's now in Mecca, and those who Sheikh Al-Albani meant was Sheikh Rabi'a and Muhammad ibn Hadi al-Madkhali, and my Sheikh Muhammad Aman al-Jami rahimahullah, and also included amongst them was Sheikh Ahmed al-Najmi and Sheikh Zayd, because they were all the ones setting out and refuting the people of falsehood. Sheikh Al-Albani said, it appears that the scholars of Al-Madinah are upon the truth regarding those whom they have refuted. Although, the Sheikh says, Ahmed, although Sheikh Al-Albani saw that in the beginning there was some harshness. In the beginning, he called Sheikh Rabi'a too harsh. In the beginning. And here, with Sheikh Al-Albani, the Sheikh says, is another principle you need to learn. He says there's another principle that we mentioned yesterday, and that is, listen closely, that if the scholars of the Sunnah defend the people of innovation, the excuse is given that they don't know the actual state of falsehood. And if they did know their actual state, they would have clarified it. Therefore, Sheikh Al-Albani agreed with Sheikh Rabi'a in those things that he clarified. Is that clear, brothers? That when you find an alim opposing those scholars who are specialists in this field of al-jarh wa ta'adil, criticizing people and or praising people, when you find a scholar who either is a specialist in that himself or not, you find that scholar, he could be of the highest, one of them kibar, the major ones, saying he doesn't agree, then the principle is that more than likely he doesn't know the details of that person that they disparaged and criticized. Is that clear? And that's why Sheikh Al-Albani took back what he said about Sheikh Rabi'a and said he is right. Fourthly, how many people has Sheikh Rabi'a actually criticized? 5, 10, 20? He said, I don't think it goes beyond 20. Look at the scholars of the Salaf. They've criticized hundreds. And who he means by the scholars of the Salaf, brothers, he doesn't mean the scholars of today. He means the scholars of the distant past. Those people who used to do the same thing that Sheikh Rabi'a is doing now. All right? He said, look at the scholars of the Salaf. They've criticized hundreds. He said, no, rather thousands of people. So you come to Sheikh Rabi'a, who hasn't spoken except against a few individuals over a period of time now, and we ask Allah to give the Sheikh long life upon obedience and to bless him in that and to bestow upon him good health and well-being and make him a thorn in the throats of the people of innovation. Ameen. He says, the Sheikh, Hafethahullah, and we'll stop here for the adhan, inshallah. Hada wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala nabiyyina Muhammad. So you come to Sheikh Rabi'a, who hasn't spoken except against a few individuals over a period of time. And then the Sheikh, of course, we made dua for him. He says, and the Sheikh, Hafethahullah, has passed 80 years old. The Sheikh has passed 80 years old. He said, in 80 years, the Sheikh hasn't criticized except around 20 people. Even if you say 100, did he criticize a lot of people? No, he didn't criticize a lot of people. Likewise, regarding those who the Sheikh was correct when criticizing, for verily, we do not know that the Sheikh, Hafethahullah, declared a person an innovator or refuted him, and the Sheikh was in error in doing so. We don't know this from the Sheikh. However, if it had happened, it is known from the character of the Sheikh that he will apologize and retract, recant what he said. So if it happened, Sheikh Rabi'a is known for him returning to that which is correct if he falls into error. So that which is intended from this is to be aware of this. Be aware. Why do they say Sheikh Rabi'a is harsh? Up until the point he is clarified, up until the point if he clarified their condition and speaks against them, those who are being criticized, they say this is being harsh. Our Sheikh so-and-so is a good person. The people are saying this, replying. They say, oh, our Sheikh Rabi'a, so-and-so is a good person. And Sheikh Rabi'a is Salafi, but he has harshness. Brother, Sheikh Ahmed says, you should fear Allah. The Sheikh is of a middle course, and he is just. So one has to pay attention to this point. Then Sheikh Ahmed Bazmuul says, the next principle is differentiating between the scholar's refutation of falsehood, intending by that refutation of that falsehood, and between him refuting him due to jealousy, or because they were contemporaries, or out of oppression. The foundation or the origin is that if a scholar refutes and clarifies with evidence in his refutation, that we accept his statement. That he refutes out of jealousy or oppression, these are inner intentions that only Allah knows. So our position is, if a scholar refutes falsehood with an acknowledged refutation, and the scholars have accepted it, then it is accepted from that which appears to us. When it is said that a particular refutation is done out of jealousy, or because they are contemporaries, or out of oppression, he said the answer is that the refutation done out of oppression is that a person refutes without a reason and speaks about a person without a reason, so no doubt this is oppression. Okay, the Sheikh says, now you speak ill about a person and warn against him. Why? Just because? Or I'm not feeling him? The Sheikh says, just because, or I'm not feeling him? He said, and this, of course, said this in Arabic, but the meaning of it is because I'm not feeling them. He says, you're not feeling them. Allah didn't make your mind to know everything that is evil. He says, that's oppression. He says, you should fear Allah within yourself. Because when it comes to the people's honor, if you don't have proofs and evidences that warrant speaking about them, then their honor is poison. You can't go near it. And you will be responsible for that. So how about the honor of the scholars? And what about the strong students of knowledge. For example, a person comes to us warning against Sheikh Abdullah al-Bukhari. Why are you warning against him? What's the reason? He doesn't have a reason. He said, this is oppression. Sheikh Bukhari is well known, and the Salafi scholars whom he has sought knowledge from are all well known. The praise of the scholars for him are known. His books and lectures and classes and his da'wah to the true Salafi manhaj is clear. We don't know that he has any oppositions to the truth, so speaking ill of him is oppression. And some people warn against the Salafis or warn from Salafis like this. As for, if a person is refuted due to jealousy and envy, this becomes clear when the refuter goes overboard in the reasons of criticism. In reality, there is no criticism. However, a person is just merely talking. In this case, the scholars reject this type of criticism and say it appears that you have something against this person. Notice that they clarified that he fell into envy or oppression with proof. Some of the youth, when you say to them, Sheikh Rabia or Sheikh so-and-so warned against such and such sheikh, they say to you, this is only from envy. The sheikh is jealous, without even hearing what was said, without even knowing the proofs. And they didn't even hear the sheikh's words. He said, this is an error. He said, first of all, if you are from the common people, the common folk, what is upon you is to return to the major scholars. I'd like to ask a question now, brothers. Is Sheikh Rabia one of the major scholars? Is Sheikh Ubaid one of the major scholars? The answer to that is yes. Is Sheikh Luhaydan one of the major scholars? Is Sheikh Wasiullah al-Abbas one of the major scholars? Out of the four, who are specialists in this field of criticizing? Out of the four, who? Sheikh Rabia and Sheikh Ubaid. Is Sheikh Wasiullah a specialist in this area? No. Is Sheikh Luhaydan a specialist in this area? No. But they're all major scholars. So which ones do we refer to when it comes to the criticisms of people? Out of the four, Sheikh Ubaid and Sheikh Rabia. Pay attention, brothers, because you'll see the tricks that are being played. You'll see the lies and the deceptions and how people are trying to pull the wool over people's eyes. We go on. He says, okay, the third is the situation with being contemporaries, meaning they are close in age and in knowledge. In the science of hadith, brothers, they call this aqran. Al-aqran. In addition to this, the scholar did not clarify his reason for refutation, for he's just merely refuting. Here they say they are contemporaries. See, they bring it now, oh, they're contemporaries. You know, this sheikh is living in the same time as this sheikh. This sheikh is living in the same time as that sheikh. Sheikh Ahmed says you have to look at their closeness in age and knowledge. In addition to that, there are no proofs along with the refutation. There are no proofs along with the refutation. He says, however, that you come to me with Sheikh An-Najmi, rahimahullah, who's in his 80s, and then you come to me with Halabi or Mashhur, who means here, Mashhur is one of the Jordanians. Mashhur Hassan Salman, the one that wrote the book, one of the many books he's written, is Al-Qawl Mubin fi Akhta' Musallin, a clear, decisive word with regards to mistakes of the worshiper. You've probably seen this book translated into English. He is the companion of Al-Halabi, Mashhur Hassan Salman. He says, so now you come. You come with Sheikh Ahmed al-Najmi, who was in his 80s. And then you come with Al-Halabi and Mashhur Hassan and the Jordanian scholars, and you say they're contemporaries? Meaning just because they live in the same time period? He says this statement is false. He rejects the truth and doesn't want it. Where does being peers or contemporaries come into play with these two? When we talk about contemporaries, this is that which occurs between those who are close in age. The Sheikh says, is this clear? See, because we've been tricked, brothers. We've been tricked to thinking when a person tries to throw that monkey wrench in there, well, they contemporaries. We don't, the ulama of the past, they said, when two contemporaries, two scholars are living in the same time, you just leave it because they're contemporaries, they live in the same time. No, the Sheikh said it's just not the fact that they're living in the same time period. They have to be around the same age and be equal or more in knowledge. The Sheikh says, okay, if a major scholar refutes a small student wrongfully, what is this called? The Sheikh says, is this called the refutation that occurs between contemporaries? He says, no. This is called oppression. But you don't say this is due to being contemporaries, so pay attention to this, the Sheikh says. Someone called me, he said, meaning on the phone, and they said, what's your opinion in regards to the differing between the scholars of Jordan and described as being scholars? However, they are only described as being students of knowledge. As for the scholars of the kingdom, from the likes of Sheikh Rabi' and Sheikh Najmi and Sheikh Zaid and other than them are described as scholars due to their age, knowledge, and them being firmly grounded, and say that they are scholars and compare them. And the senior scholars, compare between them and the senior scholars, this is oppression. Let alone that these individuals fell into matters that oppose the Salafi minhaj. Even if they were major scholars, they are not considered in front of these scholars to be scholars. So you have to be aware of this. And with that, inshallah, we will continue, inshallah, on Wednesday. Inshallah. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم. And for those on Paltalk, inshallah, we're going to come with we'll answer the question now before the salah. There's two questions from Paltalk, right? Number one, does the status of an alim give weight or diminish a jarh or ta'dil? For example, if you have one scholar refuting a caller, but you have more than one still affiliated with the caller, being the Grand Mufti, would this diminish the criticism and give more weight to the ta'dil? The answer to that is, first of all, the Grand Mufti of Saudi Arabia, Abdul Aziz Ali Sheikh, is not a specialist in this field. He's the Grand Mufti. He's a major alim, but he's not a specialist in this field. Number two, if the Grand Mufti was a specialist in this field, and we said, and he praised Abu Usama al-Dhahabi, this is our principle, Salafi Manhaj principles. If he was a specialist in this field of al-Jarh wa Ta'dil, which he's not, and he praised Abu Muslima, and we, somebody in this masjid right now, the brother who cleans the masjid, criticized with a detailed criticism Abu Muslima, which one do we take? Whose do we take? The Grand Mufti or the brother who cleans the masjid? The brother who cleans the masjid. Why? because he has detailed information of criticism. So we do not accept the statement of the major scholar who gives a general praise over the detailed criticism of the brother who sweeps and vacuums the floor. That's a basic principle in the minhaj of the Salaf. Second and last question. Someone was saying if the refutation is from the permanent committee, then you follow it because they are leaders or something like that. I don't believe this, but I'm a layman and wish not to be ignorant in such matters. We say the answer to that is, if the permanent committee in agreement, all of them, on the Lajnatul Da'ima, made a criticism about so-and-so, then yes, we're going to accept it because they would not have made it collectively unless they knew details. And that's why we probably wouldn't have gotten a chance to do it because because of the salat. I'm going to remind you what I told you to remind me of. Ali Hassan al-Halabi. See, here's another trick that some of the people try to slide up on us. Sheikh Rabi'a was the one that just recently, as we said in conclusion, was the one that called Ali Hassan al-Halabi a mubtadi'. Is that not right? An innovator. See there, Sheikh Rabi'a, there he goes again. He's harsh. He's extreme. I like to let you know, brothers, that Sheikh Zayd al-Madkhali made him an innovator years ago. That's documented. I like to let you know that Sheikh Ahmed al-Najmi made him an innovator years ago, rahimahullah. I like to let you know that our Sheikh, who was on the Lajna al-Da'ima, the permanent committee that we're talking about, and on the Hay'at, Kibar Ulama, the committee of major scholars in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, who just died less than 7 weeks ago or more, Sheikh Abdullah Ghudayyan, when the brothers from Algeria, and I have the recording, 2006, how many years ago was that? 4 years ago. 4 years before Sheikh Rabi'a came out with his publicly 2 months ago, Sheikh Abdullah Ghudayyan, along with Sheikh Zayd, along with Sheikh Ahmed al-Najmi, Sheikh Abdullah Ghudayyan, rahimahullah, Kibar Ulama, major senior scholars, on both committees, not just the permanent committee, on the major committee of scholars. When he was asked by some brothers from Algeria, I have the recording. They asked him, "Oh Sheikh, there are people here that are telling us that we can benefit and take from Ali al-Halabi. What do you say? How do you advise us?" He said, no, for he is the one that brought and introduced the Murji'a madhab to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Did we just learn about the Murji'a, brothers? Huh? Did we just learn about the Murji'a? And what Murji'a do you think Sheikh Abdullah Ghudayyan was talking about? The extremist one, not Murji'atul Fuqaha. So for those who try to trick you, brothers, with this thing that Sheikh Rabi is harsh, and look what he said about Ali Hassan al-Halabi, tell them, I don't wash my eyes with woolite. I don't wash my eyes with woolite. You can't pull that one over on me. Because we already had Sheikh Zayd say something about him. We already had Sheikh Ahmed al-Najmi say something about him. And the entire permanent committee, and I have the written verdict of the permanent committee on Ali Hassan al-Halabi and Khalid al-Ambari about them bringing irja to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So now we go back to the question, the permanent committee, yes, if they collectively make a disparagement, we accept it. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.